Hey guys, it's Fidan. Today we're going to be making dulce de leche cake. Previously I've uploaded a dulce de leche recipe. You can go check that out if you want. It's going to be really useful if you're trying to make this cake because we're going to be using dulce de leche in almost every part of this cake, as in we'll be using it in the frosting, in the cake layers itself, and even in the middle layer where we're going to keep the filling. We've got 4 steps for this cake. First I'll be showing you how to make the dulce de leche cake layers. Then we're going to be moving on to the dulce de leche frosting, and finally the dulce de leche filling. And 4th step, we're going to be assembling it all. Although there are quite a lot of steps, you're going to love this cake once you've finished making it. So without any further ado, let's get on to making it. First we need to make the cake layers, and since my cake is going to be triple layered, I'll be taking 3 equal sized pans. I've lined them with butter paper and greased them with some oil. We're going to set that aside, and into a large mixing bowl, let's crack in 4 eggs. Pour in some vanilla extract, and then I have sugar. We're going to gradually add the sugar into the egg while we're beating it. So add it little by little and keep beating until we have a really thick and fluffy mixture of eggs. Now I've added in all that sugar. I'm going to continue beating, and after beating it for maybe 5 to 8 minutes, this is the mixture you want. The eggs should have maybe doubled or even tripled in size. And now into this we can add in 3/4 cup of dulce de leche. Again, we need to beat this, and right now you're going to see that the mixture is going to deflate back and going to lower in size. Now that's beaten really well, let's set that aside for a minute or so, and we need to mix up the wet ingredients. I've taken a teaspoon of coffee and a tablespoon of water. Just dissolve the coffee in the water really well, and then we can add in buttermilk. Then add in 1/2 cup of oil and mix that really well. Once it's well mixed up, our wet ingredients are ready. Now coming back to the egg mixture, we're going to be pouring in all of this wet ingredients right into that mixture, and again beating it just until it's incorporated. Next we need to sift in all the dry ingredients. For that I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And let's sift all of that in. Now we need to beat it all together, but before that just mix it around a little bit, because if you beat it right away, all that dry ingredients are just going to splatter around and fly over. You don't need to mix it too much, just beat it only until all the ingredients are incorporated and we get a really nice smooth mixture like this. Let's scrape down the sides to incorporate any excess flour into the mixture. And then here our cake batter is ready. We can divide this equally between the 3 pans we have lined earlier. Once you've divided and poured the batter into the pans, you can tap it quite a few times to release any large air bubbles, and then put this into the oven for baking. After the cake is baked, take them out of the oven and check if they're done with a toothpick test. Then we can let that cool and the cake layers are going to be ready. While the cake is cooling, we can make the frosting. For that, I've taken a cup of cream cheese here. Since our cake is a dulce de leche cake, we're going to be using dulce de leche in the frosting too. Just mix this together until well combined. Now set that aside and take a larger mixing bowl. Into this, let's pour in 1.5 cups of whipping cream. You don't need to add any extra sugar into the whipping cream because the dulce de leche is already going to be enough sweetness for the entire frosting. Now keep beating that and bring it to a stiff peaks consistency, and since we're going to be adding in the cream cheese later, you need to make it into an extra stiff peaks consistency. Now that the cream is whipped and stiff, we can add in the cream cheese and dulce de leche mixture. Now just beat that into the whipped cream until it's well incorporated. Do not overbeat it or else it's going to start churning. So just beat it until it's really well incorporated, and that's it. Now just scrape down the sides and mix everything together well. Now our dulce de leche frosting is ready. We need to keep this in the refrigerator until everything else is ready for assembling. Next, for making the filling that's going to go in between the cake layers, I've taken half a cup of chopped walnuts and half a cup of chopped almonds. Let's take a mixing bowl, and into it we'll be adding in 1/4 cup of dulce de leche, 2 tablespoons of condensed milk and 2 tablespoons of normal milk. So I've added in the condensed milk and dulce de leche. Let's pour in the milk. We're pouring the milk because the mixture is going to be a little too thick and it's not going to be really easy for us to spread. So adding the milk is going to loosen out the mixture a little bit. And once you've achieved this kind of consistency, we can add in the nuts. Just mix that together and our filling is ready. Next, we need a sugar syrup to soak these cakes in so that the cake is going to be super soft. You can use a normal sugar syrup, just add in a little bit of sugar and hot water. You can use that too, but instead I'll be using some condensed milk and milk mixed together as a sugar syrup. And here everything we need for the cake is ready. I have the filling, the frosting, the cake layers and the sugar syrup. So the cake layers, I've let them completely cool and then I've trimmed off the top and leveled it completely so that the cake is not going to be slanted. So you can go ahead and cut that and level it. Now that everything is ready, we can start assembling it. For that, here I've taken a turntable. On top of that, let's keep a cake board, add some frosting and keep our first layer of cake. Now let's soak that in some sugar syrup, and do not ever skip the sugar syrup because the sugar syrup is what is going to keep the cake really soft. Then let's add in the nuts and dulce de leche filling that we made earlier. Then slowly spread it into a thin layer all over the top of the cake. It has a lot of nuts and is pretty thick, so it might take you a while to spread it out, but have some patience and slowly do it so that you don't tear the cake apart. Once that's evenly spread out, let's put in the frosting. Make sure to add a really thick layer of frosting so that when we cut into the cake, we can see the layers of the frosting and the cake really clearly. That's what is going to look good, so make sure to put a really thick layer of frosting and evenly spread it out. Now we're going to continue doing the same thing until we've stacked all the cake layers. So keep the second layer of the cake, soak it in sugar syrup, then add in the nuts and dulce de leche filling. On top of that, add the frosting, and then we can put the final layer of cake. Then soak it in sugar syrup, and now that the cake is completely stacked, we can crumb coat it. Crumb coat is basically just a thin layer of frosting that will seal all the crumbs into the cake. That way when we do the final layer of frosting, none of the crumbs are going to be seen. So once you've done the crumb coat, you need to let that chill in the refrigerator for at least half an hour. And then take it out and do the thick layer of frosting, which is going to be our final layer of frosting. And this time when you frost it, make sure to make it as smooth as you can. So go around with your offset spatula as many times as you need to make it look really smooth. Now the cake is frosted. Let's keep this in the refrigerator for maybe half an hour just to let that sit completely. And meanwhile, here I've made out some decorations. It's just caramelized walnuts and a little bit of caramel decorations. Now I've taken the cake out of the refrigerator and I'll be decorating it. So the decoration is totally up to you. It's your cake, so decorate it however you want. I'm just putting these crystallized walnuts on the side and then piping a thin layer of frosting on the bottom. And then piping some more frostings onto the border on the top. Adding a few caramel decorations to the top of the cake. Now my cake is completely ready. The last thing we need to do is just keep this in the refrigerator for maybe 2 hours to completely set everything, and then we can serve it. It's really easy to cut into the cake because the cake layers are really soft. And when you pull out the slice of the cake, you can see all the layers perfectly. The cake layers itself, the frosting and the filling. It's a really delicious cake recipe, so I hope everybody tries it out. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Also send all your feedbacks in the comment box. Thanks for watching. Love cooking. Bye bye.